So as I've been reporting to you all, it seems as if the entire world is basically preparing for nuclear war. The entire world except for America. And when I say America, I more so mean the American public, the American people. I'm sure our politicians, the elites, I'm sure they're prepared. We already know that the billionaires have been investing in bunkers for years, building entire underground compounds like Mark Zuckerberg, so we know that they're prepared, and I'm sure that portions of our military are prepared as well. Don't get me wrong. But what I mean is the American people, they're being kept in the dark about how serious the situation is getting, and the outside world, they are well aware that we have reached a new level in this conflict with Russia. A level that seems as if we're days away, weeks away, who knows how far we are away from a more direct confrontation between NATO and Russia. Now, who knows what that will look like? Who knows what that means? Who knows how that will turn out? All I'm saying is that we are very close to that. And you may have been hearing those warnings for a while now, but if you've looked at what has transpired over the past week or so, then you know that things have reached a new level. And even though the American people are being kept in the dark about this, other people throughout Europe, they're not being kept in the dark, okay? They're being told, their government officials are telling them, they're passing out pamphlets, they're basically telling them to bunker down, prepare, gather up your supplies, get some generators and stuff like that, because we're in for a cold winter, folks. So the rest of the world is getting ready. And all eyes are on Russia right now, right? All eyes are on Russia and Ukraine. But when all eyes are on Russia, you need to be looking at what China's doing. Because I assure you that China is simply sitting back waiting. China's more patient than Russia. China will wait 1,000 years if they have to. They're waiting for an opportunity. Now, we know they're interested in Taiwan. We know they're going to try to take that back. But they seem to be showing interest in other little islands out there as well. So right now, as all of this is transpiring in Russia, and as Europe is preparing for some type of major conflict, China is starting to move around their aircraft carriers and their ships. And just a few moments ago, news broke that we have some very concerning satellite images of some of China's Navy making some interesting moves. Let's go ahead and dive right into this article. Alarming satellite image shows China's $9 billion secret warship doing military tests in the Pacific amid World War III fears. China's secretive $9 billion warship has been spotted in Pacific Ocean from space amid fears of World War III. The CNS Liaoning, which is the nation's first operational aircraft carrier, was captured by NASA's Landsat-8 satellite as it was docked in the Bohai Sea and it was conducting sea trials. The satellite images showed the warship docked among other aircraft carriers at a shipyard, while separate images showed the warship moving out to sea. U.S. Navy officials have been monitoring the warship, finding that its deck measures about 656 feet long and 131 feet wide, making it smaller than other Chinese carriers. The images were taken days after U.S. President Biden allowed Ukraine to use American missiles to strike China's ally, Russia, which has led to fears that a worldwide war is on the horizon. China has become Russia's largest trading partner following Western sanctions and now enjoys huge discounts on energy exports while supplying essential technology and consumer goods. In September, reports surfaced that the two nations were ramping up joint military drills. The Chinese military has more than 370 warships and submarines in its fleet, making it the largest naval force created worldwide, and has worked to rapidly increase its fleet while keeping up with U.S. carrier technology. The CNS Liaoning was operating near Japan last year, strapped with guided missile cruisers and a guided missile destroyer, when it conducted flight operations with about 20 launches and recoveries of fighters. Reports also claimed that there were around 40 takeoffs and landings of helicopters from the carrier. More recently, from September 20th to October 1st, the CNS Liaoning performed flight operations with carrier-based fighter jets and helicopters in the waters east of the Philippines and west of Guam. It is unclear what trials were being conducted this week. The People's Liberation Army Navy also deployed its CNS Shandong aircraft carrier last week, which sailed into the South China Sea about 397 miles south of Miyako Island, according to the U.S. Naval Institute. The vessel was monitored using satellite imagery and was reported to have conducted 10 launches and 10 helicopter takeoffs and landings. The U.S. has deployed its own fleet of warships to the northwest coast of Luzon to watch China's ongoing operations, and reported that the Liberation Army could be readying itself to attack Japan. China's tensions with Japan has continued to grow due to concerns over its close relationship with the U.S. The Chinese government has also claimed that Taiwan is its own territory, although the country has not outright stated that it plans to invade Japan. Earlier this month, Japan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs said it is grateful that the U.S. is deploying ships to the region as reports of China's warships increase. The press release stated, as the security environment in the region becomes increasingly severe, maintaining a robust presence of the U.S. Navy through the forward deployment of USS George Washington and the carrier Air Wing 5 is essential to the security of Japan. So there you have it, folks. China is making some very interesting moves, and I think it's something that we definitely have to worry about. But you know, here in America, our media focuses so much on the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. Like, the media will talk all day about Israel and Gaza and stuff like that, but they don't talk about how bad things have gotten with China. And what I'm talking about is like all of the tensions between China and Japan, China and the Philippines, a lot of stuff going on in the South China Sea. Listen, there is so much stuff going on right now in the world that doesn't get reported on much here in America. In fact, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, that's kind of become an afterthought too. Everyone's focused on Gaza. I mean, people who are focused on conflicts, they're mainly focused on that conflict. So it's like Russia and Ukraine, that's old news. But right now in Russia, you know, between Russia and Ukraine, it looks like that's going to be the start of World War III. What's going on there? And we focus so much on what's going on between Israel and Gaza that we hardly talk about what's going on in Ukraine anymore. And we do not talk at all about what's going on with China and, like I said, Japan and the Philippines and what have you. But yeah, Japan is worried about the very real threat of being invaded by China now, which is something that you wouldn't really be thinking is even a possibility, something you wouldn't be worried about. But they have been acting very aggressively. And I'm talking about, you got to see some of the conflicts that happen between these various ships out there in the ocean. I'm talking about fishermen and stuff that are running into Chinese warships. It's getting crazy out there, folks. And most people don't even realize that that is happening. So that's another reason why You can look at everything that's happening right now and you could call it World War III. That's why I tell people World War III already started. You know, when World War II was happening, it wasn't World War II yet. You look back on history and you say, that's World War I. That's World War II. In the midst of that conflict, you didn't know what the war was titled. You know what I mean? Like World War I and World War II were going on for a long time before it was acknowledged as World War I or World War II. You know, it starts off with little conflicts between other countries. And then before you know it, the world gets dragged in. And sometimes the conflicts have nothing to do with each other. You know? Like, for example, whatever beef China has with Taiwan, that doesn't really have anything to do with whatever beef Russia has with Ukraine, right? But it's a very similar situation. And I guess when you boil it down, you could make the argument that a lot of it does kind of tie into each other, because I think China is threatened by the U.S. military presence on a lot of these islands out there. I feel like they're threatened by the U.S. military presence in Japan. I feel like they're threatened by the relationship that Taiwan and America has right now. We depend on them for a lot of our chips, you know? So I think they're looking at that, at how America and NATO is aligned with those countries and those various little islands. And I think Russia's looking at what's happening on their borders and how everyone's becoming part of NATO and they don't want NATO on their doorstep. So in many ways, when you break it down, it's kind of alike, but also at the same time, the beefs are different. You know what I mean? But there's just so many conflicts that are happening right now. And you might not acknowledge it as World War III in the current date, in the current moment. But I think when history looks back on the times that we're living in now, I think they will consider what's going on, World War III. And I do think it's going to get worse. And I don't say that to be pessimistic or anything like that. It's just... You show me any signs of things getting better. You show me where things have gotten better. You know, we still have a chance for things to get better. But right now, it's been moving slowly but surely, things are just getting worse. More countries are getting involved. Other conflicts are sparking off. And this news right here with China, it really looks like China is waiting to bust the move. And we're kind of waiting for when that's going to happen. And I feel like China's not going to bust that move until the U.S. and these other countries are more tied into the conflicts happening in the Middle East and the conflict happening between Russia and Ukraine. Because they want all of our money, all of our equipment, all of our energies to be focused on those conflicts before they start their conflicts of their own. You know, I think that would be a good strategy, right? Maybe I'm wrong. You let me know what you think, though, down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all soon in the next one.